Okay guys, I figured the best way to do this would be just to record a video of the study guide. This is actually supposed to be Unit 1, but Equations and Inequalities study guide. So I'm this first video, and I'm not going to be explaining much. I'm just going to be going through all the evens. So instead of actually just posting the solutions, I'm actually going to record it, which is going to take me a while, but I'm not going to explain too much about why we're doing it. I will just kind of talk my way through each problem. So if I'm going to solve this for k, the first thing I'm going to do is distribute my parentheses. So I have a negative 3 on the outside, so that's 8 minus 3k, so negative 3 times k, and negative 3 times 2, and that's negative 6 equals 2 minus 3k. Now I'm going to combine my like terms. So I have and like terms are, I'm talking about like the sides of the equation. So if I look at the left side, I have 8 minus 6, so that's 2 minus 3k, and then 2 minus 3k over here. Now this is a situation where you see it's the exact same, so that's going to be infinite solutions. And I'll actually show you one more step on this problem. So if I add 3k to both sides, and what you'll see is I'll cancel out my k's, so I have 2 equals 2. Anytime you see your variables like that canceling out, it's either going to be infinite solutions or no solution. So that's why I wanted to show you that next step. But when it's the same, it's infinite solutions. When it's not the same, like 2 equals 5, for example, if it's not the same, that means no solution. Okay, next. Distribute my parentheses, negative 7a, and then minus 3, or negative 7 times negative 3, so I'm going to have negative 7a plus 21 equals 11 minus 7a. So I'm going to try to, wow, okay, here's an example. So I'm going to get my variables on one side, get my numbers on the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and add 7a, so those cancel. And look over here, they're canceling over here as well. But here's a situation where you have 21 equals 11. 21 equals 11. We know that 21 does not equal 11, so that's an example of no solutions. Okay, next one. Distribute my parentheses, so 4 times 4y is going to be, and I'm just multiplying the numbers. 4 times 4 is 16, and make sure you have the y afterward. And then 4 times negative 3 is negative 12, or minus 12. That negative is what's going to be distributed into this parentheses, so negative y, positive 5, so minus y plus 5 equals negative 52. Okay, so I'm going to combine my like terms. I have 16y minus y, so that's 15y. Negative 12 and 5 is negative 7, or minus 7 equals negative 52. I'm going to get my y's on one side and my numbers on the other, so I need to move this minus 7 to the other side of the equation, so I need to get it over here, which means I need to add 7 to both sides. So remember, if you're moving it to the other side, you have to do the opposite. And what we're actually doing is negative 7 plus 7 is 0. So that's going to be 15y on this side, plus 0. So I just don't write the plus 0. So I have minus 45 over here. Now I have 15 times y, so I'm going to do the opposite by dividing by 15 on both sides. And over here I'm going to have y equals negative 45 divided by 15 is going to be negative 3. Okay, next. Proportions. So this is different than adding two fractions, but you begin by, when you have two fractions equal to each other like this, or a proportional situation, you can just cross multiply. Okay, so we're going to take a minus 3 and multiply that by 6. So we have 6 times a minus 3, and that's going to be equal to a minus 6 multiplied by 3. So 3 times a minus 6. And that's going to be my setup. So from here, you can just treat it like one of the problems we just did above. So 6 times a is 6a. 6 times negative 3 is negative 18. 3 times a is 3a. 3 times negative 6 is negative 18. Okay, so I'm going to get my variables on one side and my numbers on the other. So I'm going to start by moving 3a to this side. And again, it doesn't matter which side you put the variables on. I usually just try to keep things positive. So 6a minus 3a is positive 3a minus 18 equals negative 18. Okay, I'm going to add 18 to both sides to get this 18 to the other side. So plus 18, I'm running out of space here, but that's going to be 3a equals, and when I add 18 over here, they're going to cancel. And then if I add 18 over here, they cancel also. So negative 18 plus positive 18 is going to be 0. So I have 3a, that's a 3, sorry for my writing, equals 0. So I'm going to divide by 3, a equals 0. Okay, next problem. Again, they're two proportional, there's a proportional relationship here, so I'm just going to begin by cross and multiplying. N minus 7 times 6, so this is 6 times n minus 7 equals 2 times 2n minus 5. 2 times 2n minus 5. All right, so I'm going to distribute, so 6n minus 42. 4n minus 10. I'm going to get my variables on one side and then my numbers on the other. This time I'm just going to do it differently, just to show you you can move the variables however you want. So I'm going to put my 6n on the right side this time, for no reason other than I just want to make a point that you can put them on either side. 4n minus 6n is negative 2n minus 10. I'm going to add 10 to both sides. So I'm going to have minus 2n equals negative 32. Then I'm going to divide by negative 2 on both sides. And I'm going to eventually get n equals 16. So if I even put my n's way up here, if I move the 4n over here and I put my n's on my left and my numbers on the right, I still would have gotten n equals 16 if you had done it correctly. Okay, next page. All right, so this is for the honors class real quick, but pretty much when you're solving absolute values, you just want to get them isolated by themselves and then make two equations. So you have 6c minus 18 equals 30, or 6c minus 18 equals negative 30. And then I'm going to add 18. I'm going to solve both of these, so I'm going to have two answers. So I'm going to add 18 to both sides. So I have 6c equals 48. And on this one, I'm going to have add 18 to both sides. 6c equals negative 12. Then I'm going to divide by 6 on both equations. So I'm going to have c equals 6, wow, 8. And then 6c, so I'll divide by 6 on both sides, so c equals negative 2. Okay, next. So I'm going to get this absolute value isolated first. So I'm going to first add 9 to the other side. So I'm going to have 5 absolute value of 4x minus 4 equals, I'm adding 9, so I have 40. I'm going to divide by 5. So absolute value of 4x minus 4 equals 8. Okay, now that I have the absolute value isolated, I'm going to create two equations. So I have 4x minus 4 equals 8, and 4x minus 4 equals negative 8. So you're just creating a positive and negative version of this equation, and you're going to solve them both. So I'm going to start both of them by adding 4 to both sides. So that's going to cancel this out, and it's going to be 4x equals 12. And if I add 4 to both of these sides, that's going to cancel that out, and that's going to be at negative 4. I'm going to divide by 4, so I'm going to have x equals 3, or x equals negative 1. Okay, so that was for the honors. So now back to this one right here. This is for both classes. we need to solve for y. So what I'm trying to do then is get this y by itself. So I have ax plus by equals c. I'm going to begin by, I need to get everything off of this side other than that y. So I'm going to begin by subtracting ax from both sides. Now, when you're working with literal equations like this, your answer is not going to look nice. You're not going to get it equal to just a number. So we have by equals c minus ax. And because we don't know what that is, we don't know what a is, we don't know what c is, we don't know what x is, we're going to keep them all just like this, c minus ax. Now to get y by itself, this is b times y, so I'm going to go ahead and divide by b on both sides. And this is going to be my answer. So my b's are canceling, so I'm going to have y is c minus ax divided by b, just like that. And that'll actually be my answer. For the sake of time, I'm going to move on from there. Next one, same thing. I'm solving for n. Well, okay, this is more integrated 2 idea. So I'm going to not do this, and I'll just substitute that for the toughest looking one over here, number 17. So let's just do number 17 real quick together. Solving for p. So I want to get rid of that q eventually. I want to get rid of the 4/3. So the first thing I need to do is get rid of the 4/3. So I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal, which is 3/4 on both sides. So I'm going to multiply by 3/4, multiply by 3/4. So 3/4 and 3/4 cancel. I have p minus q is 3/4 times r. So you just write 3/4 r, or you can write 3r over 4, however you want to do it. You can put the r on top, or you can put it next to it. Now I'm solving for p, so I need to get rid of a minus q. So I'm going to add q to both sides. So plus q plus q. So sorry for the lack of space. I'll just write the answer over here. So I'm going to have 3 over 4r plus q. That's going to be what equals p. So there's my final answer there. Okay, now on to some inequalities. Back to number 20. Okay, so an inequality, you're just going to solve it like a regular equation. So I'm going to start by distributing 2 times x, 2 times -9. So I'm going to have 2x minus 18 minus 3x. This is going to be less than 5x plus 24. All right, I need to combine like terms. So 2x minus 3x, that's going to be a negative x minus 18, and then 5x plus 24. Okay. I have a minus x, so I'm going to add x to both sides. Plus x plus x. Again, the reason for doing this is I want to get my variables all on one side. So 5x plus x is going to be 6x plus 24 is greater than negative 18. I'm going to subtract 24 from both sides. So I'm running out of space, so I'll write it up here. So we have 6x is greater than negative 18 minus 24, minus the 24 from both sides. So what I'm doing is this, if you're confused. Negative 18 minus 24, 30, 42, so negative 42. And then I'm going to go ahead and divide by 6, so I'm going to have x is greater than negative 7. So graphing this, I have negative 7 here. It's strictly greater than, that means it's going to be an open dot. And anything greater than negative 7 is in this direction. So bigger numbers are this way. So that's how you would graph it. Open dot because it's strictly bigger than or greater than. And then here's negative 7. And all the x's are bigger than, all the answers, remember there's infinite answers here. They're all bigger than negative 7. Okay, next one. And again, I just want to remind you guys, I'm not going through this video to explain things. I'm going through this video to remind you of things. So I'm not really going in depth. I'm just kind of going quick. All right, so solving this like a regular inequality or equation. So it's 2 times x and 2 times 1. So I have 2x plus 2 is less than or equal to negative 13 minus 3x. I want to get my variables